Hi, my name is Jabran, and welcome to Unlisted with Sam Malik. So, we've had quite a few episodes, and most of them have been live sessions, so it's not like we prepared for these kind of things. We just talk off the cuff. But Sam, of course, has been doing these things for a long time, so he's always prepared. You'll find me a little lost in translation at times, but we like to keep it natural. And there are a lot of things I don't know, and this is why I always bother Sam for it. Okay. Coming to today's topic, it is a continuation. Are we creating our own universe? And this is the fourth episode for it. Primarily, we're talking about the language of most of the things Sam talks about is the chakras. We have gotten to the ether chakra this time, which is also the throat chakra. And before we step into the topic, Sam, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Jibby. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just I think ever since I've started doing these sessions with you, I've gotten busy myself for some reason. But
Okay. I hope in a good way, huh?
yes, definitely in a good way. But these sessions, I think we have a bigger purpose. I call it a bigger fish to fry. So earning money and all those things, that's a part of making your living and surviving. But I think the importance of these sessions extend beyond my own self. So it's a contribution. If you want to call it, it's a contribution to the community by large, and it's free education above all.
Yes, it is. It's probably, and today's topic, ether, is probably the most unlisted one, right? So within our unlisted talks, this might be one of the greatest mysteries that we will be discussing.
Well, then why don't you decode this for us? And I do have a few questions before you start. You mentioned it was a throat chakra, right? The ether
Yes,
element.
right here.
Right here, right.
If you could show the diagram.
I will. But as far as my questions are concerned, they're very premature, maybe, or maybe very basic. But I want you, when you answer them, please do try to address them as well. Is one, why is it called the throat chakra? And of course, most people would know by now where it's placed, but I'll show it on the chart as well. The second question would be, what does it really represent? And why do we really need to control it or understand this? Is there some practicality? Is there a utility besides the understanding of it? So please do touch base on that.
Okay. So one by one, Jibran? Let's. Sure. So this is where the throat chakra is present. Its color is blue. The element which it represents is perhaps the most controversial element for modern sciences. It's ether. So after we have finished our discussion of ether, we will know all 5 elements and the properties which make up the visible material world. Yet this element is not exactly visible, but it is a very important component of our universe, the physical universe. So it's a crossover element between the spiritual and the physical. And sorry, I've got a call.
No problem.
So this particular element is so subtle that having a sensible discussion about it is rather difficult. And perhaps that's why modern scientists have just thrown it out, right? It's so our science is willing to deal, modern science is willing to deal with, gases and liquids and solids and heat in all its forms, but normally skips over ether. Why is it in the throat? Well, first of all, it's the primary organ that it is connected with is your thyroid gland. And the thyroid gland is considered the king of the endocrinal system.
Oh.
So, a lot of things that our body runs on are called hormones. And I think there may be other secretions that we are producing, which are so subtle, like hormones, that we have not identified them as yet. Because ether is half visible, half invisible, half perceptible, half imperceptible.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure if our science has reached the point where it can look at ether in a scientific way and observe it. So there's so many things in the universe we can't observe. In fact, honestly, starting after the first chakra, the material world, when we enter the emotional world, can we observe our emotions? I'm not sure. We can display them on our faces, but we can't exactly observe them. We can observe their after effects. If you are experiencing anger, maybe your blood pressure will rise, you sweat a little bit. We can observe that, but we can't observe anger itself or joy itself. So most of our universe is unobservable, unquantifiable, yet we live in it. And all our scientific struggles are for things which are observable, quantifiable, things you can measure. So it's
But
in a way,
let me cut you there. I'm sorry for that though. We cannot observe that. However, we can observe its manifestation. So the
yes,
expressions that you were saying. So can't we observe the manifestation and work our way back to understand?
yes, that's what we're trying to do. Thank you. But sometimes we can't observe it also, Gibran. For example, a lie detection test, which is not 100% accurate, is an effort to observe the truth. That's such a crazy spiritual experiment, and it often fails. And there are people who can hide the
Yeah.
manifestation of their
Right.
emotions. So that should answer your question, because we are immediately dealing with things which are half mystical, half spiritual, half physical, or whatever. So anyway, going back to ether, why is it in the throat? This is so the whole human body is so beautifully designed. Every part has a meaning, and in yoga, once we know what your left hand means and your right hand means and your legs mean, then we animate these things and give commands to or requests or programming to the universe through our own physical body. So this throat is a place of choking, right? It's the only place in the body which you can choke. And it's a metaphor for life. Either you're choking
Wow.
with gratitude, or you're choking with frustration and disappointment. And this has been designed to be the place. In scripture, I think it's in the Quran
Huh.
that the divine says, "I'm closer to you than your main artery over here."
The jugular
And
vein.
the jugular vein. And yeah, so that's also right here. This is the point of extreme closeness to the divine. So these hormones, which control our behavior, our metabolic rates, even our emotions, are very, very subtle. The command center is the thyroid gland, and their secretion, their production is a bit of a mystery still. So that's the thyroid gland. This is also the place from where we speak and create sounds and communicate with each other.
Wow.
And yes,
The sound manifestation, the vibrations. A topic for some other
that's right.
time, but the big power house lies there.
That's right. That's right. So listen, our windpipe is coming through here. Our jugular vein is coming through here. Our sound box is over here. So very interesting combination of processes are taking place in your throat. So to have any kind of discussion about this chakra, Gibran, I think the most important question would be, what the hell is ether? What exactly is ether? What are we talking about? It's kind of this conversation is making me a little bit nervous because it's so abstract. I hope I can communicate this clearly.
Well, you're using your ether chakra right now to communicate.
That's right. That's right. So, if you look at an atom, and when scientists look at an atom, they look at the properties of this atom. Is it iron or is it gold? What are its dimensions? So on and so forth. So when they observe an atom, they are approaching the definition of this atom with the belief that the atom contains its properties or determines whatever is its manifestation. But ether is a flip. It's a complete flip on the scientific game. Ether is the emptiness that surrounds the atom. So if you look at the solar system, we have, not that I necessarily believe in the model of the solar system, but hypothetically, let's work with it because we all know what it looks like. That the sun is so many million miles away and is a ball over here. And then there's the smaller, there's Venus and Mars and Earth, and the distances between them are huge. And these distances are considered to be outer space. Our understanding of this emptiness keeps shifting. Sometimes we say, oh, there is hydrogen over here. Sometimes we used to say that this was a vacuum, there was nothingness over here. But the solar system is a nice parallel with the subatomic structure. Instead of the sun, you have a nucleus, and then you have electrons and protons revolving around it. And it's, in an interesting way, a mirror of the solar system. And perhaps the emptiness, the distances between these particles, subatomic particles, is proportional to the solar system. So matter, as we know it, is mostly composed of empty space.
Dude, this is already so crazy right now. I'm trying to... how I understand things is I create a visual picture in my mind. So essentially what you're saying is, on a macro level, you see the universe, how it's constituted, and then on a subatomic level, it is same representation. So it's like similar representation. So we can observe one thing and we can understand what on a micro level things can be, or vice versa. You can look at a micro thing and imagine on a bigger scale it uses the same formula, composition, method, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, absolutely, Gibran. This is remarkable about the universe and how it's constructed. And when we find such a similarity, of course there is a difference between the two things being compared, but there is also a similarity. So we use the word echo. The universe echoes. When the universe manifests itself, at different levels, it will echo the same principle with some changes and more changes and more changes, or distortion or deviation. So the principles will remain similar, and they will be an echo. Another very interesting echo within the human body, for example, is that our hand represents these 5 elements.
What?
When you do mudra yoga, which is, something like you touch your fingers and, you sit in a meditative pose. What we are dealing with here is fire, air, ether, earth, and water. And we can control the proportions of these things which are operating in our lives. If you want to increase water, you will touch the fire finger with the water finger, and so on and so forth. So these echoes are present within our body, and
Right.
when we are dealing with alternative healing, we study them and we use them. We actually use them, and some of them are very effective. Some of
One
them are
second. What's the thumb representation of the fire, right?
fire. Yes, the
And
identity, the fire.
the fire, and the fire, then combined with the rest of the elements, is what the game of this creation is, or how you model.
Yes, yes, why not? Well, that's one way of, there are many ways of looking at this, and that's one way, because fire is your identity. So your identity, when it touches another element, will generate something. But let's not limit it to this. This is one aspect of how the universe, has been created or can be manipulated or influenced a little bit. But going back to ether, so it's the space, the vacuum, the outer space, the emptiness around a particle. Now, traditional sciences and spirituality believe that this emptiness is a place of no thingness. It's not nothingness, but it is no thingness. There is no thing that exists in this emptiness. Yet, all the intelligence belongs to this space.
Wow.
It's the empty, yeah. So to illustrate that, it's the empty space around the earth which is determining what the earth will look like, what its characteristics will be, what its properties will be, as opposed to the earth deciding this.
Wow.
So, yes. And through ether, which is, so I want to go back a little bit. When we were talking about the heart chakra, I said that outside our understanding of space and time, the heart corresponds with the center of the universe, or the air element corresponds with the center of the universe. So in this analogy now, ether corresponds with, a place which is everywhere. So everything. So instead of a particular place, this is everything, everyone. It's within the universe, within the limits of the manifested universe. So
Are we talking about
everything-
space? Are we talking about spacelessness here at this point?
In either case, yes. The answer would be yes. If you want to call it space, yes. If you want to call it spacelessness, yes. But ether still occupies space and time. It has been observed that whatever we call this vacuum, this outer space, it has certain properties. When light passes through it, light will bend. So something's going on over there. It will jiggle. This medium will jiggle sometimes and cause a ripple, so on and so forth. Even though it has no weight, no form, no visual, there is something going on there. But it is still a place of no thing, but it's definitely not nothing. I think we don't have the vocabulary for this place,
That's
honestly speaking.
Yeah. I think most people won't even
So-
understand right now the difference between no thing and nothing.
Yes, it's
And
not just a play of words. It's not just a play of words, huh? A thing is something identifiable. Perhaps ether wants to retain its mystery, and can experience it, but we can't define it, or we can't limit its parameters. But imagine,
if
or
I were
imagine,
if I were to give a linear example, so most people generally think that there is either good or there is bad, but it can also be, instead of 2 point linear scale, it can be a 4 point linear scale with bad, not good, not bad, and good. Would that be an
yes.
expansion on this concept of nothingness to no thingness?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not so sure. Uh, I think that's diverting the whole thing into the human emotional,
True,
scale.
true.
But coming back to ether, this because ether is present everywhere within the limited universe, or if the universe is infinite, then within the infinite universe. Uh, that means everything is connected. Everything is connected. You and I are connected. Our molecules can communicate. Our atoms can communicate. Why aren't we able to sense each other's thoughts when we are connected? Why do we need to talk? So on and so forth, right? So why shouldn't I know what's going on Mars, if there is such a place,
Wow,
or
yeah.
on the other side of the world? So that's that's one property of ether which can be explored. The other property of ether for the human is that since it's right here, it is the medium of creation. Whether we want to or we don't want to, ether will, our own ether will manifest, co-create, and influence the universe around us. Since this is the medium of creation, and it is found in our body, and it's found in a very critical place right here, it will keep manifesting the universe. Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Animals also have ether. So why? So I was waiting to reach this point before we talked about why man is at the center of the universe. They also have Animals also have the 7 chakras, but they are not busy building dams or roads or cutting down trees, or building factories. We are. We have the power to manipulate all 5 chakras. Um, Also, I know this discussion is going all over the place. I'm trying to make it cohesive, but each chakra is related to a couple of emotions, right? So, in the case of ether, it is beauty, truth, and gratitude, which comes from that, experiencing that, versus lies and misery. So this is the place where we take the divine medium, I don't know what to call it, the divine energy, prana, and we decide to either lie about it or tell the truth about it. Our So why is it important to control your hormones so your body can stay in balance? Similarly, it's so important to understand ether. Otherwise, you will manifest a life which is ugly, evil, because it's based on lies. So if you believe in lies, it will literally start manifesting around you. Can we stop this from happening? Yes, only after meditation, understanding ether. Right? So there are people who have a greater power to manifest what we would consider an ugly life than a positive life. It's so they need to review what lies they believe in and which lies they are giving power to. So this co-creation of the universe or influencing of the universe cannot stop for as long as we are alive. We have to assume responsibility for it. And we have to learn to master this and control our life to a certain degree. So, an average animal will keep manifesting the universe, the primordial universe, the forests and the rivers and the trees and whatnot. But man will walk in there and start manifesting lies like a big city and a dam, and machinery. And so man has that ability which other animals do not. Does that make sense, Shibran? And do you see how we are given such a position of power?
It does make sense, but it also complicates the whole idea, because my brain has been kind of wired in a way right now that I've been thinking micro things, and it just kind of opens up this world of a bigger, how do I say this? It's such a big phenomena to put it into some practical element of how our brain works. And these ideas are so huge and humongous. I'm just trying to think that my ability, or anybody's ability as a matter of fact, could be that much. And the element of creation, how you gave the example of how you take the divinity or divine element and then pass it through, and this becomes your first point of creation.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about creating a baby, or even that itself is such a complicated process, but it's creating a universe. No wonder that is where our real contribution comes in. I don't have words, actually. I'm lost in a way I can't express. I'm out of words. I don't have the lingo today.
So let me say some more things here. When we choose to speak, we can choose to speak the truth, or we can choose to speak a lie. And often we ourselves don't know the difference, right? We are so underdeveloped spiritually that we don't know the difference whether we are speaking the truth or speaking a lie. But the next example might be more useful. We can say something beautiful, say something ugly, and all of us choose to say something ugly at some point of our life. When we are playing the judge rather than the witness, and we say, oh, this is my moment and I have a right now to say something ugly, right? To be angry, to abuse someone. So that's the kind of power we have. We can speak. Reality can be shifted through our words, our thoughts, our actions, our intentions. So this is where a lot of spiritual discipline practices are required. You have to understand your original intention for each thought, each action, each word. And if you reach that point, if you can touch it, then you can transform life. But then, Gibran, so we have this kind of power, right? And most of us are obsessed with maybe 2 or 3 things. I want to manifest a lover whom I can manipulate, so it becomes ugly very quickly, who will be my love slave.
Sounds so small things now, but we spend most of our lives doing these things.
Doing this. Or the other one is, I want to generate wealth so I can be powerful and isolate myself from the rest of the universe. Then, I will have material control. Again, something...
On a fun note, I would rather create the universe and then sell it off for money. How about that?
I like that. So, we are busy creating lies in or ugliness in our life, right? Instead of creating love for all, peace for all, um, equality for all, we want differentiation. I want to be rich. I want others to be poor. And if
Tell
you're
me this
rich,
thing.
you don't enjoy it unless everybody else is poor. Yes,
It's a
sorry.
relative thing.
Yes.
The real question comes in. Okay, you have the power to manifest into truth or lies, good and evil, good or bad, or whatever you want to say it. The contrasting options that one has, the choice. How does it really impact us? Choosing a good thing or choosing a bad element, or manifesting something positive or negative. How does it affect us? How does it affect the whole balance of the universe, or in terms of creation when we say, um,
Okay.
and its impacts, of course. And if you
So
can also, okay, go on.
thank God we've been limited, by the divine very sensibly. We are limited to the earth so far, and perhaps, parts of the uh, ether surrounding the earth. And we are very well contained because we are so dangerous. And I'm not so sure we can escape these boundaries, right? So, and so our impact, yes, we can go all the way to completely destroying the earth with a nuclear war,
Uh,
or or reversing all the problems we have created, turning it into paradise once again. So we are firmly planted on the earth, and our job is to transform this earth back into paradise, or to drive it into hell, right? Turn it into hell. So these are our spiritual limitations, and I'm happy for them. We can kill each other, we can eat all the animals, cut all the trees, but we can't do more damage than that. So we are contained, we are controlled. Yet, if we sit here on earth, Gibran, and we love the universe, and we love life, and we love the Creator, we can spread this love through every corner of the universe and beyond. But if we sit here and try to destroy things, we are limited to the earth.
I think we are mostly
So,
destroying things than building things. The rate of
well,
destruction is way more, and frankly, if you say that we are limited to the earth, or our powers are limited to the earth, apparently so. This is the only place we know, and this is the only place we have. I mean, if we end up destroying it as a test matter of, I mean, we won't exist anymore. Forget about co-creators of the universe. Our own existence can be at stake. Actually, it is at stake in a way.
that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Okay, so, but I think the beauty of the positive scenario is that if we sit here in gratitude and love and appreciation and joy, then that emotion can transform the entire universe, whether we can see it, we can travel through it or not. So the positive power far outweighs the negative power. The negative power is limited, and this influencing of the universe happens in ways which we don't understand. But I will try to give you an example. So let's say this is a balance, right? And we are measuring joy versus unhappiness in the universe. And right now, it is the balance is they're equal, right? But the minute somebody decides that I will experience joy, I will spread joy, suddenly this joy part becomes a little heavier. And our entire definition of the universe will shift. You will now say there is more joy in the universe, and less misery or unhappiness. And so, this is the kind of power we have, whether we can perceive it or not, feel its effects or not. At the end of the day, this is the kind of power we have. Also, Gibran, I want to talk a little bit about the Matrix, right? Do we live
The
in a
movie?
matrix? Yes, the movie as well as the concept, right? Do
Okay.
we live in a simulated universe, and are we surrounded by the matrix? Uh, you know what? In this particular ether discussion, it hardly matters. Who cares what your audio visual experience of the universe is? Because you may not be able to snap out of it. The average human being will not. Um, but if you can make it more beautiful, more peaceful, then that should be enough for us, right? Um, is it real? What difference does it make? But like I said to you, in the spiritual world, or even within the body, the more subtle an element is, the more power it has. So ether is very, very powerful. This manifestation is happening at the microsecond level. I love the universe, it becomes slightly better. I hate the universe, it becomes slightly worse. And so within 1 minute, you're giving the universe 1 million commands, and they're all happening quickly, 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 and we can't perceive their after effects. But it's not stopping, and it's happening. And if you have 10 thoughts a second, then they are manifesting something, and so on and so forth. And so
That's like a lot of power, man.
So here we are.
I never thought about it this way.
Yes, it's a lot of responsibility and power. So does the ether contain anything? Yeah, we should talk about that too. And how do we get a grip on it? So for lack of better vocabulary, because here we are entering an area which is not talked about as much as the physical chakras, the other physical chakras. Yes, they are attributes, and I would like to call them divine attributes. For example, the divine believes in equality for everything. The divine believes in loving everything, forgiving everything, being generous to everyone and everything, sharing, so on and so forth. So these are some of the properties, or I would like to call them properties because they are not things. Love, for example, the admiration and acceptance of things is a non-physical thing, and some of these things are present in the ether, and so are the opposites, right? And when we learn to experience the ether world, these are the properties we deal with, and these properties have no physical manifestation directly. I mean, intrinsically, they can lead to something physical, but they themselves are non-physical. And for each chakra, ether, air, water, fire, whatever, they are creatures which are present within these mediums. So all of this conversation is about things which are alive. Ether may be consciousness, right? Ether, because it's everywhere, touching everything. So all these things are alive, and they have identities, and they have creatures which you can experience as a thought. You can experience a creature as an emotion. You can experience an outside creature as part of your false identity, so on and so forth.
Right now, your ether chakra is a creature that's messing up with my mind. That's an overload of information.
I'm so sorry.
This is so heavy,
I'm
man.
so sorry.
This is really like, I don't know how to classify this. This seems more like a fantasy, a far-fetched fiction, or science fiction. I mean, I know that this is true, and it is as real as anything else, just because we are limited with our five senses. That's why we're not able to comprehend this. But at the same time, these things are really hard to digest. I mean,
Yes. Yes, they are.
activating this chakra or consciously contributing for it to manifest something is a far-fetched idea for me right now.
For most of us, Gibran, for most of us. In fact, we should talk about how, like I told you, the other four elements have a fuel. Putting your feet on the ground, there is a fuel.
Oh yeah.
So there is a fuel for the ether chakra,
which is,
and it's a two-step fuel. One is to shut your thoughts, learn to meditate on emptiness. And another one is to lie down outdoors at night and look at the spaces between the stars. And apparently the stars themselves are a source of ether. And they can fuel your ether. Yeah. So they can fuel your ether, and you can feel tiny little shift in your body and your system. Yeah, and beauty itself, wherever you find it, is a source of ether.
Wow.
Yes.
Beauty.
So nature is a great source.
So guys, stay in nature, stay close to beauty, start creating and manifesting beauty with your own thoughts, and this, yeah, and at least make that contribution in the world. This is my word to, or this is the message to the viewers. And do keep subscribe to our channel so you get to watch these videos more if you like the content. I know, Sam, these things are so difficult to even express, and I don't know how you do it, but you still make it close enough for my mind to comprehend or start comprehending these ideas, and I'm sure people will benefit from this as well. I know there are a few other things we could have spoken about, quite a lot of things actually, but in the crunch for time, I think we'll keep this session to this content only, and do give a preview of what we're talking next about.
The last two chakras, part of the co-creation or creation of the universe process, are the third eye and the crown chakra, and they're completely spiritual, right? I did want to say one more thing in defense of ether.
Sure.
And its presence is, when you look at pre-modern cultures, and they produce buildings like the Taj Mahal or the pyramids, we know that there is a mystery involved in the creation of these things, right? When you look at Machu Picchu, when you look at you're baffled. You're like, wow, our modern sciences can't do a lot of the stuff that they were doing. And they had a better understanding of ether. And one more thing about experiencing ether, it's in every language that beauty is inspirational and generates great works of art and poetry. That's ether in action, right?
Wow.
So we can't deny ether, whether we understand it or we don't understand it, whether I have been able to communicate it correctly or not. It can't be denied. It is one of the highest, most valued experiences for human civilization. Right?
Man, we're opening up so many portals now of ideas. I think I need to expand my own universe here first to be able to grasp these ideas a little more in detail. But yeah, we have the signs of these manifestations, and we'll continue speaking about those. And of course, like you mentioned, we'll also be talking about the next two chakras, the what's it called?
The third eye and the
third eye and the crown chakra. So guys, stay in tuned, subscribe to the channel, and watch our new videos that are coming up, and hopefully we'll be concluding with the chakras and going to continue with the conversations we've been having earlier as well. Sam, thank you so much for your time. It was a sheer pleasure.
My pleasure.
Those of you who want to get in touch with Sam for private healing sessions, I'll put up the link for his website and YouTube channel. Please do get in touch with him. And till the next video, take care of yourself and catch up with you soon. Bye bye.